Parasyte, episode 15. All right, let's go ahead and get started with it. The first scene is them. Is the guy said he was going to stop, right? So he's got this. One of his proteges, undercover. What do you call it? Private investigator.
Right.
Yeah. So he's still watching these guys, and now he's in trouble. And I guess they were at one of the designated feeding grounds. Create problems for him or whatever.
I thought they were actually like like investigating or something. Like Shinichi was talking with him, and they were like looking for the parasites to that effect. They were searching them out, right?
Well,
because they were walking together to the underground place.
Yeah, but didn't it?
You all right there?
Yeah, a lot of noise over there, Sean.
Oh, my fault.
Well, okay. Anyway,
yeah. So I thought the episode started off with Shinichi and the private eye or whatever, and they were like looking for the parasites. Like Shinichi asked him to help him, if I remember correctly, and then they were searching for them. And that's how they found that spot underground in the parking lot or whatever.
Yeah, but wasn't there before the song he had one of his proteges got killed, right?
Oh yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. That's what led to him, and they warned him last week.
Yes.
And he said, "Well, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna go do anymore." And then he had that younger guy.
Right. Yeah.
Doing it. Mm-hmm. So they went ahead and had that, and then like you say, then we got the scenes. Where they're trying to find that kid because now he has to go back to him. Miggy's gotten a little bit more lenient. So anyway, so they get the fight, right? And I love the scene. I love where he's standing on top. Miggy. His mount. My mount is better. That was awesome. That's gonna be the thumbnail for this video, actually.
He pulled the Star Wars.
Yeah.
He jumped on top of his head. He's like, I've got the high ground.
Yeah. He looked awesome. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So so anyway, the fight. So we got that opening fight. Is there anything you want to talk about?
Well, I think the private eye mentions how he can't even follow it with his eyes. The way they're slashing at each other with those tendrils. So I mean that just goes to show you how much more human Shinichi, more than human that Shinichi is right now. That
right.
He can keep up with it with his eyesight. He can match its movements, dodge and everything. And yet, the private eye couldn't even see it. So that's really cool. And the fight was just like, Migi and that Parasyte were pretty much on par with each other. But it's Shinichi, the danger that he presents, that he can just, casually move on in while the Parasyte's busy fighting Migi, and then basically that gives Migi the opportunity he needs to catch the Parasyte off guard because it's 2 against 1. So, but yeah, really fast paced and intense.
And so we got to, like I said, I'm gonna. This was kind of a quick one, so we could actually probably knock this out rather quickly. And then there's Gota, the guy playing the piano. There,
right.
and he's speedos or whatever. Playing Chopin. So
yeah, he's like totally naked.
Yeah. So there's so you go, well, why would he be doing something artistic? Why would a Parasyte bother?
But then you could ask the same question: why is a Parasyte raising a human child? That
unfortunately could be explained by human experiments. Unfortunately. But
yeah, it can be.
Yeah, for like science. But this is but in a way it could be the same thing because they're trying to explore. Evidently, they are trying to become more than what they are, even though they seem to be happy with what they are. Seem to be, right?
Yeah, it seems to be that the consensus is that we have to adapt to survive in this world, but we're right in the sense that we can kill to eat. That's like the main, thing that sets all the parasites, that connects them is that their desire to eat food to stay alive is, logical There's nothing wrong with it, and we'll do what we have to survive. And I guess in the process, like Tommy or Ryoko, like this guy playing the piano, they're going to try to collect as much information as they can, about the human world and about their bodies and whatnot.
Right. So that's going on. It was and then there's the dynamic between Migi and what's his name? I'm really bad with names. The main character.
Shinichi.
Shinichi. Yeah, their relationship is kind of like, I mean, Migi's been bending for Shinichi, but even going back to that first scene, he's sitting there, hey, that person's not. Are we getting feedback or something through this? Sounds like we are.
I think it's from Sean's speakers.
Yeah, Sean?
Oh, it's for me? Oh.
It might be. Yeah, okay.
All right, well, just like
yeah,
mute
it was.
yourself. You can still
Yeah,
hear us.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Okay.
And then, so let's see, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. The whole thing with him getting his hand and stopping Shinichi from going into class, they're not, this kid just doesn't, he's just a kid. I mean, that's one of the things I really like about it is how flawed he is. And because it makes it seem more realistic. He's trying to warn her, hey, it's not, I mean, how can you, he's, if you get discovered, he seems to just, not understand. You get discovered, you're going to be, a lab rat or whatever, right? He just doesn't. He's just reacting. Seems to be what's going on. He doesn't seem to have a good plan or anything.
Yeah,
So,
he was much more human in this episode than he's been in a while. Like you even saw, he was like visibly distressed over the girl dying in the parking lot that he couldn't save her, and she was just a stranger. I mean, oddly enough, it seems like he was more, bothered about that than when Kana died.
right.
Because, like, I don't know why, but whatever reason, he just was really, he's really gotten in his head now that he wants to like fight for humanity. That he's tired of, just being a bystander when he has all this power. And now it's like there's a constant struggle now between him and Migi, because Migi only will fight for survival, but he wants to fight out of hatred towards these parasites, for
Right.
what they've done, for hurting humanity, killing innocent people. And so that's, interesting, tension there that's building up between them. And in fact, Migi even, like, threatened his dad in this episode. So that's really good that they have this tension, makes it a lot more interesting. And, and Shinichi is kind of naive in the sense that, like, he thinks that, that he can take them out on, with Migi's help or whatever. But he's also trying to get the police to help him now. Like, he was going to go to the police with the private eye until Migi, stepped in or whatever. Right. So, and he made this comment that he said something like, yeah, but if we're going to be fighting this, like, at this point, since we killed the parasite in the feeding area, now they're all going to come after us. We're going to be their enemy. So we might as well get the police involved because, like, this guy these parasites who have, like, political affiliations, they have power politically and, control the city in some capacity that, that they're going to need, like, the strength of the police or whatever. So I don't think he's, 100% naive. I just think he's really frustrated and fed up with how everything's gone so far, with how the parasites are just getting in their way, and he doesn't want to see humans killed anymore. And that's just the bottom line.
So the success, though, is what I'm driving at is that, like in fighting and everything else, is Migi, they're getting along, and Shinichi, they're getting, and it seems like they're going, even though Migi, at some levels, trying to bend. I mean, it's just clear they're not going in the same direction, right?
It's going back and forth.
Yeah.
Honestly, every other episode, I feel like they switch roles. Migi is more human, Shinichi is more cold, Shinichi is more human, and Migi's more... I wonder if that's something that's, like, a direct result of their DNA being fused or whatever, that they both, like, go back and forth from one extreme to another. Right. Because, like, last episode that you missed on this hangout, Migi was defending Shinichi to the PI. He was like, can you imagine what this poor kid has gone through, losing his mother and, getting all involved in all this death and destruction. Like he was like making this plea for Shinichi, you know, in front of this guy. And Shinichi even said, like, you know, this is weird. Like he's not acting like himself. Then he kind of dismissed it and said, you know, oh, maybe he's just, you know, doing this to get that effect. Like he's imitating it, you know, mimicking it or whatever, you know, being logical. But I think that, you know, that Migi is just as much affected by the DNA transfer thing as Shinichi is. And they're going back and forth from being like human to being monster, both of them.
And then talking about the very end of 14 was chilling, to say the least. The fortune teller, right?
Oh yeah.
That was, oh, well, it sounds like something happened to this and that, and the whole thing about his mother, and he's just,
you have a hole in your heart. And she
Yeah.
said, he said, what do I have to do to fill that hole? She said, you have to go reconcile with the person who made that hole. And then he's just like, oh, well, there's no worry about that. I already killed her, like, you know, with a super dark expression on his face.
Yeah, that was intense.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot. There's the relationship. There's what's going on with him internally, and then there's the whole this main group of parasites, which looks, like I say, looks very interesting. The dynamic looks pretty interesting. His characters still.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, now you've got an entire group of parasites that are after him that have, you know, joined forces. We saw in the previous episode too that they're training to fight people. The one parasite went into a mafia or yakuza place.
Yeah.
And he said he was practicing to see how good he would do against bladed weapons and guns. So they're organizing themselves, you know, in case of, you know, the need to fight, you know, police or whatever. And you gotta imagine that means that eventually it's going to happen, right? Especially since in this episode you hear Shinichi say, "Let's go talk to a detective. I'm sick of this," you know. And Migi is sleeping for 4 hours, you know, usually. So it's like, or every day. And so it's like, you know, Miki can't do anything about it. If Shinichi wants to go tell the police, he can. He's got 4 hours to do whatever the hell he wants. You know?
Well, and the writer's giving us some kind of clue with he has to sleep. That maybe that's like getting to the human thing. He has to sleep like a person because he's, in a way, he's a separate entity, right?
Right.
That's really odd. Oh yeah, and I don't know if we talked about this particular episode, but you know the guy that went in there fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who he really reminded me of was Razor from Hunter x Hunter.
Oh yeah, yeah, the same tank top, yeah.
Yeah, the eyes and the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same haircut, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, awesome. So let's see, and then at the very end, the chase scene, the 3 against 1, right? And Shinichi's on his own, and then it's all 3 in one body, right?
Right, and the scary thing is that this parasite is almost like a normal person. He's got emotions, personality, you know, and can easily blend in with humans. So it's like, you know, what's the cause of that? Is it because there's 3 in one body that they can all, like, you know, maybe like regulate what, I don't know, like, you know, somehow the 3 of them work together to make a better human experience, like on the outside, or, you know, what's up with that? That's really interesting, you know, because if parasites will start doing that, then, you know, it makes it much harder to fight them because they might no longer be presented as mindless monsters. I mean, they've already gained their own will, if you look at Tommy and Ryoko, and they've already gained, you know, their own justifications for what they do. They claim they're not monsters, they just need to survive. And now if they get rid of that cold-like monster personality, and, you know, these all personalities of their own or whatever, then, you know, then it blurs the line again. Like, you know, is it really, are they really evil? You know, like, and whenever TV shows make you think that, whenever they take you out of, oh, this is the bad guy, totally evil, just kill him, I can't stand him, when they humanize those characters more, it makes for a much more entertaining program.
Yeah, well, I mean, what is the basic story technique is to reverse the beginning, right?
Right.
Rich man becomes poor, poor man becomes rich. You know what? Name your.
Right. You have to bring your characters through a journey.
Yes.
Is basic writing. Yes.
And that's what the nightmare is, right? His character is actually a writer doing character progression. That's hard.
And I think he's done that with. I think he's done that with Tamiya Ryoko. I really feel like she's becoming more of a character, sitting in on the lecture, You know, even little things from like holding the baby in the back. You know, one
Yeah.
moment and another moment, you know, she's holding him like a normal human would. You know, when she was walking to Shinichi, she was holding him like a normal woman would hold a baby. So like, there's all these scenes of like, oh, is she a monster? Is she, you know, or is she just this being that, you know, is not evil like we think? Like, I love that that the author makes you think like that.
Well,
That's really good.
back to episode 14 to kind of put all this together is if you notice during that scene, the scene we're talking about when he was talking about his mother, right?
Hmm.
And the thing with her and the baby, they both had this laughing thing, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is as he's losing his humanity, or this back and forth, but as he's losing it, he's kind of turning into this cold-blooded, kind of sadistic person. And as she's gaining her humanity, she's turning into this kind of sadistic person.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
Yeah, so it's kind of their parallel at their thing there. So
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
It's,
This was
it's like the same thing achieved by different
yeah,
methods.
in
Yeah.
the different directions. Yeah, that's really awesome. So the writing's just amazing. So, but anyway, like I said, I wanted to make this really quick when we have. Is there anything else you want to add in about this episode?
Um, I just love the fact that there's really clearly a story here. The story is like, how are they going to defeat? Like, well, the story is that, you know, this young teenager is troubled by, you know, all these things that are happening in his life, and he wants to fight for his race, his species. And you know, then we have the opposite, where there's this alien species that wants to fight for their survival. And like, you know, how will Shinichi, you know, actually end up defeating them? Will he end up getting the government's help? You know, will he get stronger? Will him and Miggy, you know, evolve more? Like, who knows what's going to happen? But I think it's on, you know, a great story arc right now. It's really entertaining. And also Murano is kind of like the anchor that holds Shinichi's humanity together. You know, whenever he sees her, he smiles and he wants to protect her and things like that. So, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff to be interested in this with character development, action, and, you know, the way the story is progressing. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's really top notch, the writing and the way it's been done. I'm really happy with it. So, is there any final thing? Because we'll just go ahead and close out right here, unless you got anything else.
Uh, no, not really much else.
Actually, that was a good wrap up. So yeah, that was a good wrap up. All right, well, it's an awesome series. If you're just listening in on this, Parasyte is amazing. This is definitely, I know, I'm saying NW, yeah, word for life. Yeah, yeah, the NW order. It's been a while since I've said that, but anyway, yeah, is also I'm assuming, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I mean.
No, I'm really enjoying Parasyte the Maxim. I think it's really, really fun and really exciting.
You'd recommend it, right?
Yeah, and dramatic and thought-provoking, and, you know, it really touches you as a person, like, you know, right and wrong, good and evil, and things like that. So, good stuff.
All right, and I'll go ahead and close it out. Until next time, take care.